makes the flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide, so you may as well come on and give it a try. He's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't make it without him. I won't be without him. He's awesome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome again to ZMR Ministries. It's Friday night, so you know it's a night with my girls. Tonight is Girl Talk, and we're talking about who raised you, how to get along with people who have different morals, values, and beliefs from you. So we're going to go on and open up the floor. We're going to talk about this. Right. So how many of y'all have said in a conversation or two, who raised you? Who raised them?
How many times a day?
So what do you think is the first step to getting along with somebody that you know they don't believe like you do, their morals is different, their values is different, their loyalty is different? Come on, Ebony. I know she trying to let somebody else go first.
No, I was just trying to, but no, I think there's just a different type of approach depending on what character you're talking about. If we're talking about beliefs, I feel like for me that's easy because I already am under the impression that not everybody is going to believe the same thing that I believe, and I have just a general respect for human beings. As far as morals, now that's when you're trying to tap into like character of a person, and then that's where things start to kind of separate because I can't fool with everybody like that.
Well, what about you, Bridget?
It's the same thing. I guess for me, for beliefs, everybody's belief system is a little bit different. So I go in with an open mind because you might not believe what I believe. And the people were brought up and raised differently. So you have to understand just because what I think is my norm may not be somebody else's norm. So just because I'm used to something doesn't mean that they're used to something. And that's something I actually learned when I was dating. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to Papa Do's and a man is trying to take me out. He was trying to impress me. Well, in my mind, I was like, we already went to Papa Do's. But then in my head, I said, girl, you tripping. Be grateful that your family was able to take you to places like this at an early age because everybody wasn't like that. So act like you enjoying yourself, which I did, because the conversation was good and we had a good time. So you got to take your own bias and your own thought of, okay, this is what I have. Everybody didn't have that opportunity. So you got to humble yourself and say, okay, maybe it is something different. I'm going to go out and what can I learn from this situation? But when I go back to morals, some folks ain't got no morals. So you sit there and if it's time for me to have to compromise my morals just to kick it with you, then we can't hang out no more.
I feel you. So, Bridget, you bring up a good point. I mean, all of y'all brought up good points, especially when it comes to beliefs. Because first of all, I guess we need to establish what are morals, what are values, what are beliefs. Because belief systems, to me, morals is your core.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that you are unwavering on. That's your foundation. That's what you were taught. That's what you just say, you know what, that can't be touched. That's my bottom line. And I just don't believe this. Right. Your values are different. It's what you value. And like Bridget was just talking about, you know, about even Papa Do's. To somebody else, that's a value. That's on somebody's bucket list. Yeah. Man, I want to save money so I can go to Papa Do's. When somebody else may say, I mean, I went there just for lunch. I was like, let's just go to Papa Do's. You know what I mean? So your values are different on how you were raised. What you put value on, not to use value for value, but it's what you consider important, what you deem important, and it's all about what you were taught in your house, because some people don't think that's important at all. Some people feel like, hey, we need to communicate, but the other person raised in a house where they don't talk. So communication is not key to them. I don't need to communicate with you to show you that I value you. Right. Okay? Then you have your beliefs. You got your belief system. It's kind of right there with moral. Because it's when you believe something, there's conviction in it. You don't stray away from it. You will argue it down. You will fight for it. You'll believe for it. Do you see what I'm saying? So what do you think is the difference, in morals, values, and beliefs in your own personal life? I would say y'all quiet.
I think they all complement each other. Like my beliefs kind of fuel my my morals and then the things that I value also play into like what my beliefs are, who I am at my core, and my foundation.
Right.
So I think it's like you start with the foundation of a person, then you have what you will or won't do, what you are and aren't okay with. So they all are complementary of each
They
other.
coincide. What about you, Debbie?
I don't know. I kind of agree with TC. You know, like I said, sometimes I separate those things just because whenever I'm meeting a person, I try to look at them from a holistic perspective. You know, and so and essentially those things are gonna cross over with each other anyway, and there's gonna be some type of conflict. So whether what you value, if you're a very materialistic person, you know, and I may not view materialistic things as a priority on my list, that's gonna eventually conflict as who you are as a whole.
Right.
You know, and so I think that's gonna help me decipher whether I want to deal with this person or not, because they're gonna cross over. It's inevitable, you know, for them to go to overlap. So that's what I think.
I agree, because I think what you believe also takes a part of what your morals are.
Right.
Because like you say, if I believe something, I'm gonna fight for it. But my morals, in a sense, is a standard where I sit here and I say, okay, I might believe it's wrong to steal. But depending on the situation, I might be able to believe I can bend the rules a little bit.
Right.
But from a moral standpoint, I'm gonna feel guilty and I'm gonna know it's wrong, and I'm not gonna want to do that. My morals are gonna overpower what my beliefs are to a certain point.
Right.
But I think when it comes down to people, again, when it goes back to a belief, I believe a belief can be wavered.
Yeah.
Because I believed one thing until I met or ran across somebody else that changed my belief system.
Right.
But my morals is my foundation.
Right.
This is what
That's good.
it was built on. This is my foundation. This
Right.
is what I have. It's gonna be very hard for me to waver off of my morals,
That's a good
because
point.
that is my foundation. That's who I am. That's what builds me. And when I leave here, you're gonna say Bridget never would have did that, because that's against her morals.
So that is good, but here's the deal. People grow.
Yeah.
And people change. Experiences change you. Betrayal change you. Hurt changes you. Pain changes you. Situations change you. Is it good to change your morale sometimes? Because some people's morale is off. Some people have morale. You know, you can think of racism. You know, they think of, you know, white people. Some white people think of black folks as second class. There are some countries who look at women like they second class. You're not really human. So if you meet somebody who was raised that way, and then, you know, y'all become friends, and they're like, you know what, my morale is this right here. That's why you have a lot of countries who do honor killings and things like that. Now, we ain't talking about killing nobody. But what I'm saying is it ever okay to change your foundation?
I think going along with what you said, I think the big thing there is communication.
Yeah.
And it's not good to communicate with people who only think the way you do and only feel the way you do. You know, sometimes you don't know you're wrong until you interact with different people.
Well, I ain't never wrong, so.
Okay.
Of course.
So, like I was saying, sometimes you don't know until you communicate with people. And those people who refuse to communicate, they refuse to talk to anybody else who doesn't think or feel or believe the way they believe. I think that's the issue. Like, how can you grow if you're scared to be exposed to something new? So that being exposed to something new, communicating with people outside of your bubble, that's a big deal. Like, at work, you talk to new people. I'm still gonna do I don't have to like you to do my job.
Right.
You don't even sign my check, but we can work together
TC.
at this job.
Help, Lord.
We can still work together at this job with our different beliefs and our different values and maybe our own different personal morals, as long as we have this common goal. So I think the dynamics of the relationship, but also communication.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, whenever when that crossing over part. So to me, I value a person with depth, right? And so that's something that I feel like is important, right? So if
What's your definition of depth so they can understand?
depth to me, my idea of depth is having being open to having a variety of different perspectives. So sometimes you cut yourself off from learning and growing because you're so, you know,
In the box.
Yeah, you're so in the box with your thinking. That's a great way to put it. So in the box with your thinking that you can't really add anything to me because I'm gonna stop right there. You know what I mean? I need a person with depth, whether that be a friendship, platonic relationship, it doesn't matter. So that's something that I would value, you know what I mean? And so it's just like, I mean, if you're not open to maybe even hearing a different perspective, I think for me that's gonna like make me be like, oh well, we don't really have anything to you know talk about.
I agree with all of that too. But I think more, you know,
Like y'all, that was good.
I
But
get
what
that.
I'm saying is,
morals can change. You know, when you say it
Right.
to me. And I think it goes along too with your life experiences.
Yeah.
So it's about who you come across, what you've experienced. Because before, if I was a person that said, okay, say you were brought up in a small town, you know, somewhere else, and I've never experienced anybody else except for black people. That's it.
Right.
And only say white people I've come across hated me. Then when I get out into the world, I'm going to think that's what I have. And I may think everyone is there, and it's not until I begin to experience other people and see that not everybody is the same when you see it. And I think that's a lot of things that people run into now is where we say we already have what was instilled in us as a child, which was your foundation, you know, for your morals. And then you go out, and when you begin to sprout and you begin to live your own life, that's when you begin to start to develop your own set of morals as well. Right. So sometimes you may battle with, this is the foundation I was given, and at the same time, like when you build in a house, you add on to it.
Absolutely. And you know what, when I kind of think about it, my morals, beliefs, all the things that have changed, you know, because I think we have been conditioned, you know, from, and you mentioned a point about, you know, we were raised at, who raised you, right?
Right.
We were conditioned to do certain things, to believe a certain way, to act a certain way, right? And so whenever you come across something that opposes everything, a lot of times people that brings a lot of fear to people, you know, because I've been conditioned my whole life to think this way, to believe this way, to have these particular values, and then there's a internal conflict, and then you have to figure out what to do with that, you know, and I think that that's an opportunity for growth, because growth is, of course, as we all know, I'm sure, is never a comfortable thing, right? And so just being able to face that and just kind of and push past it, I think is an opportunity.
I think it's about remaining flexible.
Oh, that's a good
You
way.
know, understanding that you are forever learning.
Right.
Forever
All the
learning,
time.
and you're forever changing. There are some people that I know who were one way for the first 30 years of their life, and then boom, they quickly change. And you're like, where'd they come from? You know, I didn't think they would ever do that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because certain situations it would change the trajectory of your life. You know, certain life events. You know what I'm saying? It'll change your perspective, the way you think, the way you see things, the way you view things, and then you'll see yourself or others becoming something that you don't know about. You don't know about. And with that change, your beliefs are altered, your morale is altered, and you'll adopt a new foundation for yourself. And that's why, you know, when it comes to influence from people, it's very important. Because you'll say, you know, well, I'm solid on this. You know, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. And you'll meet somebody, and all of a sudden they got you doing voodoo. Muslim. You know what I'm saying? You get your palm read and everything. You like, well, you know, I know about prayer, but my horoscope told me. You like, where your horoscope come from? What you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Raisins and crystals.
Saging and everything. I ain't gonna, you know,
Well,
people get,
sage.
okay, my bad.
I sage, you know, and so I mean that's the thing. Like that's interesting that y'all brought that up, because I never knew about any of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you have to kind of create your own narrative of who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because like you said, influence from people is very
Very
important, you know, and that also that influence can also keep you closed off as well, you know. And not to say if that's your preference. So that's my thing. Like, you know, if I sage, if you know, whatever. I think that there's a balance that I found for me that adds to who I am. You know what I'm saying? But like we were having a conversation earlier this week. Me and Zanya was having a conversation earlier this week, and I was like, and she was. We had some type of conversation, and I was like, we had an issue, and I was like, Zanya, I don't understand, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, talking real calm. She's like, okay. All right. thank you for letting me know that. I was like, why are you talking like
First of all,
that?
I didn't say
That's
like
exactly
that.
how she said. That's exactly how she sounded. Okay, so I was like, why are you talking like that? You know, because I'm used to her being a particular way. So I'm going
No more aggressive.
to a little bit more aggressive, but that goes to the growth. So not only whenever you're growing, it's not only that adaptation for you, but it's also an adaptation for the people around you. And I had to change my perspective. I was like, okay, well, maybe she is just trying to.
Yeah, because she accused me of being fake.
Yeah, I did.
She was
I
like, "You
sure
being
did.
phony," and then I said, "No, I'm not, Ebony. I'm listening to you, you know." And she was like, "Yeah, but look how you sounding. Why are you talking to me like that?" And you know, and I was being
No disagree.
I was being calm, and then she just kept pushing the issue. Then I was like, "Okay, well, what you want me to say?" Well, there go the real. Y'all said, see, when people try to change, you know, they'll drive you back to your old self. But it's like my beliefs are still the same, but it's like I'm learning what works for me and what doesn't work for others. And it's not saying that you're changing for others, but you're changing because you need to coexist.
Yeah.
Right.
It's maturity, you know, it is growth, and change is good, but understand why you're changing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, I thought you was waiting to say something.
And I don't really think that, you know, for me, it wasn't really, I didn't want to make it seem like it was from like a judgmental perspective, like, you're being different now. You know
She
what I'm
was like,
saying?
you being fake.
No, I'm gonna explain
That's
because I did feel that way, because she said something like, well, you know, I'm changing. I'm like, okay, well, the change is good, but I want you to be authentic in your change. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that I was trying to decipher. I couldn't tell. You know what
She
I'm saying?
couldn't read me.
Yeah.
She couldn't read me because
Yeah.
she was so accustomed to me responding a certain type of way that when I responded contrary to that, then it bothered her. It was like,
Because it looked like you're trying to be funny.
Yeah, that's what I felt like.
For y'all don't know, we've all known each other for a long time.
Right.
So all of a sudden, if me and her into it, she might be used to me just being like, okay. And I'm finna shut up. I ain't got nothing else to say because in a minute, I'm probably finna cry or something else. But I might cry sometimes, but I'm upset. Be careful. So, we may say that, you know, but it would be the same. So she came to me and was like, okay, Bridget, I understand how you feeling now. She trying to be funny.
Yeah,
Now she think I'm stupid. You know, so
And then the thug comes in.
because we're not used to that.
Right.
Or if I just came out, because I'm not a cusser. So if I came out and just started cussing, she would be like, well, who are you? What are you doing? Because that's not even you.
Right.
So it would be the same as in growth and in changing. People who know you, they know who you normally are and what you normally do.
Right.
So when you aren't changing, they're going to be the first people to pick up on it. And it's going to be an adjustment for them as well, because now they have to adjust to the changes that are being made to you.
Right.
And you know, and that goes back to relationships
Yeah.
and being able to be flexible, because you have to be able to be flexible to adjust to the change that the other person is doing as well.
I think it's the biggest thing is respect.
Yeah, for sure.
It's respect. It's respecting their change. It's respecting their limitations. It's respecting the fact that they want to expand or expound on themselves. It's respecting that, hey, you know what? At some point, their muscles are gonna flex. And it may not flex in the way that you're accustomed to, you know, especially when you're used to somebody being really passive. I'll take Avery, for example. You know, I call her Stink. She probably mad. And because I see her as, this my sister, y'all, so I see her as my little baby. Whatever. I see her as my little baby, you know what I'm saying?
A whole
And-
grown woman. 30
yeah, I just stopped making her sit on my lap. I used to be like, sit in my lap, say, stop, I'm grown. But the thing is, I had to come into a place that I realized she is her own woman. And so how it started out was not how it's finishing. And so in the beginning, she was a lot more not passive. She's always
Hey, you
been
can say passive.
she was always a very strong person, you know, when you got to know her. But in some ways, she was very passive. I was a big influence in her life. She really respected what I said. She listened. And I'm not saying she would alter her life, you know, according to that, but it made a difference. What I said mattered. And then over time, you know, she started maturing. And all of the stuff she was listening to me, the advice, the things I was pouring into her began to come alive. And I was like, wait a minute, that don't work for me.
You can't grow
I was
up.
like, wait a minute, I wasn't telling you to be strong, to be your own person and stop letting people talk to you crazy and all of that. For you to go off on me, what are you doing right now? You know, so it was like I had to take us, and I'm still taking steps back. I'm growing. I've grown a lot. Now I just become really quiet and drawn in, and it's like I'm learning how she deals with things. I'm learning how she adapts to things, and it's like I'm taking a step back so I can respect who she's becoming.
So it's funny that we talk about how we're friends because when I first met Sonya, I didn't like her.
We didn't get along.
She didn't too much care for me, but we had mutual friends, mainly Ebony. I knew a few other people that Sonya was mutual friends with, but Ebony was like my road dog back then, like one of my only friends. We didn't need any other friends. We had each other. So when she started hanging out with Sonya, I'm like, who this? And why?
Right.
And we had similar personalities in the sense that it's like you ain't finna say nothing.
She had an attitude problem.
Both of them were just
And
alike.
she liked to run her mouth.
So
For real, both of them.
She liked to run her mouth, and I liked to fight.
Yeah, both of them.
It was a conflict.
Anywho. So we didn't too much get along at first, but out of respect for Ebony, I was like, this Ebony friend, so I'm gonna just be quiet. As long as she don't say nothing to me, I ain't gonna say nothing to her. And it'll be what the young people Gucci. Everything will be fine as long as she doesn't say anything to me. But again, that respect for Ebony, I was like, I'm gonna be nice to her friend because Ebony my friend and that's her friend. She ain't got to be my friend. But over time, from communicating with one another and just maturing, we've become very good friends. Just me and Sonya.
Right.
We still talk. Like, it used to just be we only talked when Ebony was around. But then we became friends, and so we still talk, and we still maintained our friendship even after all these years. But I mean, at first we didn't like each other at all.
And you know what? And that took alteration. Because then it was like Ebony, you know, would get in her feelings sometimes, like, what do you mean you were with TC and y'all wouldn't have lunch? You didn't invite me? And I'm like, bruh, can I go eat with TC? You don't let TC up, I'm sorry. But it just shows, even with Bridget, when she was saying a second ago, you know, she could be passive. Bridget, she's a crier, which she's really not a crier anymore.
Not anymore.
But she's grown a lot, and I mean, I'm a crier, but you know, Bridget was on another level. It was to the point where you would have conversations, and then all of a sudden, tears would immediately start rolling.
But
you
you
like,
like, man, don't
you like,
it's not like, okay,
you're like, what are you
doing?
doing right now? And I remember, we went through this situation. I mean, I was just, because I know I could be a little raw. I admit that. I admit that myself. I know I can be a little raw, and so I can, when I'm upset. Well, I don't do this anymore. I've learned to hold my mouth, but when I'm mad, I'm telling you, I don't have a filter. I don't care what I say,
Razor sharp.
And I remember in this altercation we was having, she was going out, just, and then I was saying Bridget, and then it just came out, and I knew instantly what I said affected her. Like, I knew it was gonna be a lasting effect, and so when I said it, I felt so horrible because I care about it. That I teared up and I started crying. I was just like, well, man, go on somewhere. And she was like, is that really how you feel? And I was like, when you made me say that, man, go on, man. You know what I mean? You know, I was really pissed off because I felt like, you know, how dare you push me to that point? You know,
It's her fault.
Right, of course. Right. You know, but we got through it. But what I had to understand about, even with Bridget, because we've gotten so close over the last few years, her sister and I graduated. So we've been knowing each other since high school.
She thought I was a twin, and
I did. I thought her and her sister.
we don't even look alike.
They do look alike. She lying. Anyways, but we were actually dating these guys who were best friends for a long time. So we left them nameless, y'all. We ain't talking about them. But just to see
Just the shameful looks on her face. She needs to date this guy.
I said these guys that's a compliment.
Yeah.
But we dated these young men who were friends, and so we started learning that we had a lot of relatable experiences.
Right.
And so even with Bridget being emotional, instead of me starting to look at her or continue to look at her like, oh, you so emotional, good God Almighty, Jesus, who raised you? When I start learning her background and the things that she dealt with and the things that were said to her, you start understanding why, she was responding this way. And, and I had to take a step back and say, okay, see, this is an opportunity, this is a growing opportunity for you to not be so selfish. Ebony, what was that?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, I thought you were trying to act like you was so shocked.
No.
Well, I'm shocked by you calling Bridget emotional because compared to me, you were super emotional.
Well, TC doesn't have any emotion.
I do. They just
Never. I think
yours is over the top though.
I think in the 14 years that we've been friends since 2006. Is that 14 years? Yeah. It's 2020, right? Yeah. So I think in the almost 15 years that we've been friends, I've seen TC cry once.
Yeah.
And I knew it. I was so angry with her. Remember you came to my dorm room? I'm not gonna say what was happening, but the girl was hot. I was upset because I understood, or in that moment I was like, if TC is crying,
Yeah, it's serious.
it's a problem.
Real.
And I was kind of overprotective because after we got close, I was like, these my babies, these my little sisters. And I had that attitude that I had to protect them, come what may, who
Even
may.
when we weren't in danger.
Even when we weren't in danger. That's a good point.
There was a perceived danger.
Anyway, whatever. My foundation, because I grew up with a brother and sister who were very protective, Ray and Mimi. And Mimi is still, Ray got rest your soul, that's my baby, but Mimi still is very protective. Like, it doesn't matter. She views us as her little sisters. I'm like, bro, we're really Irish twins. We're 11 months apart. But, for her, that's a foundational thing for her. She's like, that's my blood, that's my little sister. Nobody messes with her. But it just shows in all of our situations how our beliefs, our foundations, and our values have changed. Because I remember when Ebony and I first became friends. So I come from a very materialistic family. I like shopping. Forget y'all.
The bling.
I like shopping. I like to look nice.
Like, she gonna go shopping and she gonna get you something.
Yeah.
But she not gonna walk out without getting her 3 things. And then gonna turn back around and say, but wait, I got you. Hear me out. Hold on. So she can justify, you're gonna be so grateful that she did get you that t-shirt.
Well, I'm like
thank you.
no, if I buy, if Bridget's trying to be funny, if I buy Bridget a gift, I gift myself too. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's the right thing to do. You got a gift for somebody else, so you should give.
I can be sometimes selfish.
But it's then it goes back to accepting people where they are. When you know her, you know she genuinely got you that from her heart.
Right.
So it wasn't like, okay, she just got me this to get herself. No, she genuinely got you that.
That's true.
But at the same time, when you know what, she's gonna get something for herself too. So you just be like, okay, cool, I'm grateful that she got that. And
Then you go
accept
to her
people.
closet a few years later and get what you want.
You see, I think the underlining perspective or thing that we need to accept about beliefs, values, morals when it comes to questioning who raised you is coming to an understanding.
Yeah.
Because some, like me and TC, like we talked about, we didn't get along at first, and it was deemed that I'm this horrible person. Ooh, she got an attitude problem. She like to fight and this, that, and the third. All these things, but what they know is I'm very genuine. I'm loyal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if I got you, I'm solid.
That's true.
You feel me? And so I take relationships so seriously that if I rock with you, I rock hard. And if you think you're gonna get away, it's about to be a problem. If you want to just run, it's gotten better over the years where people have walked out, they hurt, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm not showing up at your door anymore. Like, oh, so we not friends?
Oh no.
We not friends? Or you gonna just sit in the car? It's not. Come on, y'all. I was in my 20s, but but the thing is, it's getting to an understanding, understanding because for me it was a defense mechanism. I didn't grow up fighting. My family will tell you, I wasn't the harsh one. I was sweet, I was bubbly, I was very forgiving, you know, all of these things. And then over time, when you're hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt, and people take advantage of it and they view you as weak, I just got tired. And I was like, oh, okay, well, y'all want to get this hardcore me. And that's what people perceive. But it's like once I let someone in, you begin to understand. And then the question, the side eye of who raised her, because she is off the chain, it starts to diminish, because you're like, you know what, I see why she's like that. I see why she's popping out, because she was quiet. She didn't. I've always been talkative, but I'm saying, you know, with conflicts, I never ran from it. But it was more so at the beginning, like, yo, what are we doing this for? Like, see, are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? So now, when Ebony was talking about earlier in the conversation, that we had a conversation earlier this week, and it seemed like I was being fake, is because I'm trying to, I guess, get myself back from going from 0 to 100, and now learning a healthy balance. Learning a healthy balance. So even in my belief system, it's changed with my change. Instead of just believing, you know, that's how they are. They're doing this because of this, that, and the third. My belief is now, let me seek to understand. You know,
that's the key right there. We don't listen to people.
Right.
We hear what we want to hear. I hear what you saying from my feelings and from my place of hurt. I don't hear what you're saying. I hear what I think I heard.
Right.
And so that leads to a lot of problems where I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just sharing my thoughts. But because you're hurt, it's just feeding your hurt more and more, and now you can't hear what I'm really saying.
Well, it's how it's filtered. You get what I'm saying? So when someone says something, or even you say something, it's going through your filter. Your filter of perception, your filter of experience, your filter of pain, your filter of hurt. It's going through all of those things. So you're going to perceive it different. You're going to hear it different. That's why a lot of times in counseling, they tell you, you know, when someone tells you something, repeat it to them.
Right.
And then say, okay, I just heard you say was, and my interpretation of that is that correct?
Yeah. Everybody should go to counseling and therapy. Those skill sets, those soft skills are very important, for real, because a lot of times people don't listen, and because of their own traumas and their own triggers, a lot of times they project things onto people, you know, prior to even being able to fully hear them in the capacity that they need to. And so that's one thing that I think is very important, just learning those soft skills. And as people, period, we need those. And I think it's going to just help us to become more well-rounded, you know.
And it causes you to draw conclusions that are not even there, you know, and assumptions. I remember me and Ebony, we didn't have a break in you know, our relationship or whatever, but it got really distant. And it's because in our head, she perceived something one way when it really wasn't. And even though I was communicating to her, you know, Ebony, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry.
Bro, she fired, bro.
Let y'all have it.
I'm sorry. I was communicating to her like, sis, you know, this is hurting me. I don't like this. And she's like, Tanya, that's so saying it. That ain't true, sis. You know I love you. You know you my priority list. And I was like, I don't feel very prioritized right now. And so every time you breathing hard, like
I'm right.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say, you know,
I'm listening from your perspective.
Oh, okay,
because that's important.
Why you say you listening from my perspective? Like I ain't right.
Cause she already ready to get right. Is this the camera? This live. This is live. I'm listening from your perspective. See, go ahead.
No, and so we ended up having a conversation. She came over to my house, and I remember she was sitting there, and I was hot.
Of course.
But you know, y'all beat me up.
Man, go ahead.
Y'all beat little old me up, man.
That's what happens when you're the big sister.
Well, whatever. We had this conversation, and you know, I remember her feeling really bad because she was listening to me, and she was like, I didn't know it was that way. I didn't know I was making you feel that way, but I felt this way, and I was like, when did I ever say that? And it's because she was thinking from her old filter of who I was, and she took that as, okay, this is just what it is, and it wasn't. And so that's why I'm saying it's a great thing to seek understanding and not allow time to just go by where your relationship begins to weaken. You know, because we can both be stubborn. We can both be really stubborn, and at that point, I was just like, well, you know what? You hurt my feelings, and this is what I'm saying. You know, when being that hard shell I have is because I really do care. And if I'm telling you something that's bothering me, and you act like it's all good, you'll deal with it when you deal with it. Well, you gonna be you.
Yeah.
You gonna be great.
We already
and
know
undealt
what,
with.
you know what? We know what that
Well, I
is.
think sometimes too, though, like because of that. Again, like during that time, it was a time of me asserting who I was as a person.
I'm like, is that thunder?
I don't know. It's somebody.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that was me also asserting who I am and as who I was and coming into who I was, and I wasn't 18 anymore. You know what I'm saying? And certain things that, you know, the way that Zion said certain things, I did as a grown woman. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't influenced as much as I was as a kid, and I think both of us had some adapting to do. You know what I'm saying? But I also can be very, at times I can be very inconsiderate and unempathetic. You know, and that was something that was something that I had to come into.
That's good.
For real though, I mean, it's
No, I'm not even
Because I
being funny.
think- yeah,
Like that's real. That's
because you know, my lack of empathy sometimes I didn't think about how that affected a lot of people close to me. So, you know, I was like, Zion, like you already, like it's fine, it's cool. Let's, you know, just roll. And I like, again, it goes with how we deal with certain situations and how we project things. So I'm not a person that's very like, let me tell you all my emotions. I'm just gonna feel a particular way about it, be mad, and then act
She
accordingly,
does.
you know?
She does.
Yeah.
And there's no communication about it.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
just looks at something and say, "Oh, okay, well, you know, that's how it is." Who's
and then I act accordingly, you know, because you know what I'm saying. So, because so that's how I am.
But
I
that don't
think
mean she
it's-
always right.
Right,
Is what
exactly.
I'm saying.
That's true. That's true. And so, like I said, it was just a weird stage. But again, like TC was saying, you know, like Bridget was saying, that communication piece is very important, and you have to internalize who you are too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to do some self-reflection. I think in order for us to be a better friend or a better sister or a better whatever, we really have to self-reflect. And I don't think we do that enough, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times we tell ourselves that we're a certain way, but okay, you just done told yourself a whole lie.
Right.
My
You
question is,
So,
if I pulled the you on you, would we still be cool?
Right.
If you pulled the you on me, would we still be cool?
and that's
And
the truth. That's a good team.
well, you can't expect people to just put up with whatever from you because it's you. Like
Yeah.
at a certain point in time, it's like either you gonna grow up or I got to go.
Yeah,
Like we still have that
Y'all see how we look at
responsibility.
me?
it's
And
just real.
then, but it's like with friendships. Okay, if I pulled Zanya on Zanya, we might not be cool no more. But at the same time, as time passed, maybe we would have come back together. Or there may be times when she's going through something, and I'm just like, I can't help you through this, so I'm not gonna get in the way. I'm just gonna remove myself because I can't deal with this. And I think also as friends and in relationships with people, you have to respect that too. Like,
Yeah,
you can't help me right now. You can't go where I'm going right now. That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean we're not cool or we're not friends. It just means now that it ain't working. for us.
that's good.
I mean, and that is the truth, because
That's
sometimes
good.
each of us may be going through something that the other one has never been through.
Right.
So I may not, like you discussed before, you lost your brothers. You know, I don't know what that feels like. So I may not want to say the wrong thing and cause more hurt to you.
Right.
So in my mind, I might be thinking, well, it's better if I just stay away, not knowing that, oh, I really need you to be here for me right now. But I'm really trying not to cause more damage. And you thinking I'm avoiding you because of this, and it goes back to the communication, you know, as well. And then too, like when you say you're self-reflecting. I can sit here all day and say, oh, I'm strong, I can deal with this, everything else. But really and truly, we all do need each other. To a certain extent, everybody needs each other, but we all don't need to be the same because we balance each other out.
Exactly.
When it goes back to, like you say, your morals, your beliefs, the differences and everything else, because that's like me and Zion. We can be polar opposites, but at the same time, we can be the same depending on the situation.
Right.
And we can communicate.
Y'all hear that thumb come out?
We can communicate at the same time. I'd be like, hey, I'm finna call you, you finna call me, we know. Ain't no words to be spoken. But then it'll turn around again and you'll go back and I say, Zion, when it's the balance that we talking, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Uber driver. You have a driver, and this person may say, I did 4,000 trips in my lifetime, and is excited about it. You know, excited about it. And then we'll say person DE may say, oh, well, that's good. I did 6,000 in 2 months. But we'll balance each other and say, well, why did you have to take that from that person? You know, the same thing, but then the turnaround at the same point, I'm passive to a certain extent. I may not speak. Like Ebony says, if there is something that's bothering me, I let it bother. And I'm learning because she's like, you need to nip that in the bud off the top.
Yeah.
Because it's not gonna do it.
So a prime example of that is, and I was gonna say, and sorry to interject, is learning other people's temperament.
And that's what it is.
And they may be in the stage of growing, and like Emily says, growing doesn't feel good
At all.
And so they're going through all of these changes and emotions, you know, that they don't even understand how to deal with.
Right.
And so it's pouring out on everybody else,
Yes.
and it may not mean to be acid, but it is.
Yeah.
And so that's when you decipher, you know what, can I deal with the changes? Because when I'm going through, they know I get very isolated. I don't call, I don't text, I don't want to be bothered.
Phone
you know,
in airplane mode.
I'm just saying. And then there are times when, you know, they know I'm upset. Bridget don't even bother. Or, you know, everybody be like, I ain't gonna even waste my time talking. Man, ain't no explaining to her is talk to her for what?
She'll tell her she ready.
Or everybody will grab her keys and be like, I'm gone. TC will be like, okay.
So
you're just, I mean, no, she's talking about this TC. So an attitude is solving the problem.
Yeah, she will, TC. Yeah.
And it just makes you just blow up even more. TC, I'm serious. I'm not feeling it right now. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying like, what is
exactly
that?
how T talks.
So
Like,
dry.
straight up.
What is that solving?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I'm gone then.
Yeah, like, and you can't even get mad because it's right.
I said what I said, and I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
But it's really understanding temperament.
Yeah,
And like I said, it goes back to respect.
that's what it is.
Respecting change, respecting, you know, growth. And everyone's growth doesn't look the same. I mean, you can, like Bridget was saying a while ago, there's some things that she's going through or I've gone through or any of us have gone through that we haven't experienced. But you can experience the same thing. You still not going to grow through it the same way. And so you may be like, I went through that. I wasn't crying. I went through that. I wasn't spazzing out. I went through that. I wasn't depressed. But this ain't you.
You ain't me.
It's not.
Right. We have different experiences. We have different hurts. We have different things that's on our palette. Like you're an artist, Ebony. And so, you know, of course, when you put the colors, let's just apply the way I said palette instead of the painting thing.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Bro, thank you. How you put all the different colors and they all mix differently. And then, you know, you have 10 million colors and you add a dip of white. You like, well, I had 10 colors and I added white. It didn't mess the picture up. It wasn't ugly. Whereas somebody else may have all these colors and add black. And it's like, oh, the picture is ruined. You know, and it's like understanding we all have our own palette. We all have our own different mixture of colors. And just because when you mix your white with your blue or your purple, it came out a beautiful color and you were able to paint a flower. Well, my white got mixed in with black and brown and orange, and it came out looking like a burnt leaf in fall. You know?
But it's perspective too.
That's a
It's
Right.
perspective because my
Yeah,
perspective is
so-
different. I would say, man, look at what you did. That's beautiful. You know, everything else and what you're seeing through your own eyes, I think is ugly.
Yeah.
But
True.
I'm embracing what you thought is ugly, and I can see the beauty that's in it.
And you know what? I'm glad Bridget said that because, first of all, Bridget is very positive. I'm not just saying that because she's my friend, but she's so positive sometimes that it just gets
Makes
on
you
my
mad?
nerves.
Makes you mad?
And you be like, you be knowing people did, you know, roguish stuff, and Bridget be like, what did she tell me the other day? We was talking about something, and I was like, see, that's why A, B, and C. Well, how you know that? Because, you know, it could have been this way, and this could have suddenly changed. You can't just say they're this way because they don't have a job. I'm like, but you know it be people. She was like, no, that's true, but how do you know that about their situation? I was like, man, come on. Going on somewhere. You know, it's like she's always helping me to see things in a better light because, you know, like I said, my experiences, when I look at certain things, I'm like, man, You know, Bridget grew up in the burbs. I'm in the hood. I'm like, no, honey, I know what Bridget. I mean, yeah, you remember that crackhead came in Granny yard and stole that water hose? Oh no, it made me think about that. I'm sorry, y'all. I mean, we sitting in the car. He walked up and everybody was like, we need to lock the doors. And he literally went to the next door neighbor and just undid that hose, was dancing and singing, rapping it up, and then walked down the street. We were in shock. I know that ain't got nothing to do with it.
We ain't got nobody on.
Listen, I was like, bruh, come on now, Ezel. That was random. I'm sorry. But I just love how we've all stood the test of time. Because if we're honest, at some point, we have looked at each other and said, who raised you?
Right.
You know, we may stay quiet, but it's like,
I literally, when Ebony started hanging out with Zanya, I was like, oh my God, why is she hanging out with her?
mm-hmm.
What we had was good.
And and you know what's funny? Because I felt the same way about TC. I was like, what do you see in her? Everybody was just like, that's my friend.
And I got the same thing. No, she cool. Give her a chance. For what?
You know, it was
I gave her a chance.
Guys.
And then me and Bridget, like she said, we can be polar opposites because Bridget is genuinely sweet. Like anybody who meets her, they'll say it. Bridget's sweet. Oh my gosh, she's one of the sweetest people I know. Oh no, Bridget doesn't get angry. She's very patient and she's kind and this, that, and third. And somebody be like, oh, Zanya kind. Zanya who? And I'm like, are you serious right now?
Yeah, when I first met Bridget, I was like, so y'all been friends? Or did y'all just meet? Because she seems real chill and mellow. And
Like,
you're
we need some ginger.
Very hospitable, very kind. You know, and we talk about it. I'm telling you. Sometimes we look at each other and like, bro, I asked her one day, I was like, how do you deal with me? Because I'm a trip. I really am. I mean, that attitude gets to sparking, or I get in my feelings, and I'm just like, okay, well, you do you then, Bridget, click. And she like, was that necessary?
That's what
like, what's seriously? And then I call her 2 hours later, like, you ain't gonna check on me? You told me don't talk to you. You know I didn't mean that. See, that's what I'm talking about. Just a trip, y'all. I mean,
Like, let me know when you're done.
she does. That's exactly what she does.
Okay, let me know when you're done.
But you
When
know
you
what?
finish,
That's-
let me know.
That sounded, yeah.
Shut up.
Essentially, that's how sometimes you have to kind of deal with other people's temperament.
Right.
You know, like you were alluding to earlier.
And it's not that you can't be friends with someone. This is what I'm saying about, you know, the topic, you know, and I'm glad us girls are talking about this, you know, how do you exist or how do you respond when dealing with people who have different morals, values, and beliefs. If you really just put it out on the table, all of our beliefs, values, and morals, they coincide, but they're also very different.
Right, they are.
And they have changed with the change of life. You know, TC is a wife. She's a mother. Her beliefs and value system has changed. It used to be I rock for my girls, and she still do. But now her husband is her priority. Them kids are her priority. You know, Ebony's life has changed. It used to be about, you know, sports. You know, she was just a very aggressive athlete. I mean,
Very aggressive.
very prideful. She was I'm talking about very arrogant. Yes, Ebony was arrogant. And she felt like, you know, I don't understand why I don't get to shine and da-da-da. I'm like, bro, are you serious right now? It's a group effort. No. I was like, oh, God, come on, relax. You know, but
Interesting perspective.
see, that sounds so
Our project of yours together and you didn't get the grade I thought you should get. It's like, no, we worked
That
on
was
that.
very
but
upsetting.
No, I wasn't being funny. That's really good.
That's a
perspective.
very interesting perspective. Who are you, Michael Jackson now?
No, I didn't want that respect.
I love Mike, but I'm just saying she got real
No,
soft.
I was listening because I never thought about who I was like in your,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm really trying to be.
No, but she knew it though. I mean, don't get it twisted. Ebony, you know, like I said in the beginning, she could be passive, but she was always she was that little chihuahua. You know, chihuahuas are very aggressive because she's short. I'm not calling her a dog, but she's a big.
Dang, thank you.
But I'm saying she's small in stature, but chihuahuas are very aggressive, and that's how she was. You know, and sometimes she is. She get that from her mama. She get that from her mom. But it's taken time, even for all of us, even for Bridget. You know, that she's coming out that passiveness, you know, that emotionalism, and she's really starting to find her own. That now when we would talk about things, or when she first started changing, and I didn't see tears, I was like, oh, she must not care. You don't care? I mean, I'm sitting up here telling you this, and she's like, no, I do care. No, you're not bothered. And she's like, what do you mean I'm not bothered? Like, that's how it was coming across to me, and I started understanding that she was like, okay, we've been talking about me being too emotional for years. And now I'm starting to get a grip on my emotions. And I was so proud of her because I know I can be the very aggressive friend.
In regards to what?
Everything.
In every area, all the.
I just, you know, I put it like this.
TC gets on my nerves, bro.
Whole nerves.
We're gonna put it out there.
I mean, she is cutting me today. I mean, dang. No, prime example, Bridget is not one of those people, she'll let stuff fester.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Right, and you do that too. She lets it fester, and then by the time she's ready to blow up, because that's not her temperament, that by the time she gets to that point, it's World War 10,000. It's very ugly.
Shooting love. And I ain't apologizing, because I'm like, you deserve that. I let you make it 6 years ago, so we're gonna let it all run. And I'm like, Bridget, you tripping.
Right.
So when you look at yourself,
You gotta say, you gotta do a self-assessment, because I'm like, well, it got to that point because you let it get to that point.
Right, and
that's on you.
It took. I remember her and an old mutual friend had went through a little discrepancy, and so I'm talking to her, and she's and then they're talking to me, and and when it was all said and done, I was just sitting there, and they was like, "What do you think?" I said, "Both of y'all stupid."
Yep, that sounds like
That
you.
sounds like something you would say.
I think
I was
Ryan
like,
talks
no,
everybody.
well, I don't want to say their names. I don't want to say their names, but she was like that. She was really upset. She started crying like, I'm trying to help you understand where I'm coming from. I was like, Bridget, the first time they did this, and she was like, well, they did it a couple of years ago, and I was like, I remember that. You didn't check it. And so you have to teach people how to treat you. And people think I'm
My
so.
aunt said that yesterday. My aunt literally said that yesterday.
Oh.
You gotta teach people how to treat
No, seriously. And I know sometimes they feel like I'm high strung, but I believe in it ain't gonna be no question.
Yeah.
So if you offend me, I'm gonna say, hey, look, when you did this, when you said that, that doesn't work for me. And I'm not trying to change you. Oh, that's just how you are, and that's fine. Be you. Just know you can't be around me, and I'm gonna stay away from you because I see this is how you are. And I'm like, and when you put that up front, they may not like you. They'll either look at themselves and say, you know what, you're right. I'm not gonna change, but I just know how to address you. That's where that respect comes in. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's some things that I say to Ebony now. She right before we started filming, she had a whole attitude. Then I had to ask her. I was like, "Is that attitude?" Yes.
Yes, it is.
I was like, "Bruh, we got to shoot."
It
So I'm
absolutely
gonna
is.
let it fly because you got to shoot. But you know, because we will go back and forth. But that's what I'm saying. It's about learning your boundary. Because some people believe maybe you don't have to address everything. But over time, after you done blew up 10,000 times, you're like, okay, let me change my belief on that.
Right.
It's not that I'm being combative. It's not that I'm trying to stir up contention. It's about, okay, let's get this addressed because I see where this can be a problem in the long run. And then you may have to keep readdressing things with people because the understanding is, even though you're one to check it from the jump, I have to give them the grace
But how many
to
times?
adapt.
How many times you do that though? Because
I don't do it. I only do it once. I have one conversation.
I was about to say because that's what I'm saying. Because I don't.
I'm saying I can't answer. That's
that's my thing though, like because that boils down to behavior. You know what I'm saying? And it's one thing for a person to do something and you address that thing, you know, but then it's another part when you know it's a part of your core and that's who you are, you know.
Or your refusal to change.
And, yeah, and I'm like, at that point, I'm like, it's already, you already, the fact that I even said anything lets you know that I at least trust you to the point to where I can express how I feel about being offended by something you said, right? So the fact that I even said anything already should let you know that, okay, this is a big deal, right? And then if I have to continually say something to you, at this point I just feel like you're being inconsiderate, and maybe you're just not the person that I need to
Like when I
associate
kept
myself.
telling you was hurting my feelings.
Or like when I keep telling you can't talk to me like I'm 10.
I don't talk to her like she 10.
See,
You just
look.
But one thing I have learned, and it sounds crazy, like the light bulb clicked probably like 15, maybe 18 years ago, and it was like, oh my God, duh. Like, everybody don't have to like you.
Right.
That was a big deal for me.
Right.
Because growing up, everybody liked me. Like, you know, I was cool with everybody. I wasn't necessarily popular, but there weren't people who didn't like me that I knew of. I thought everybody liked me. So then when I got to college and people didn't like me, you know, I was torn between, do I work to get them to like me and risk
That's real tea.
becoming someone I don't want to be, or do I be okay with people not liking me? And then, like, when you realize somebody don't like you, and I didn't lose one drop of sleep,
Not
Right.
one.
I was like, oh, people don't have to like you.
Right.
I can have my boundaries. We can, you know, be associates. We can be cool. We can be cordial without having to be friends. I don't have to develop a relationship with you.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's not even about disliking somebody. You just know what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
You know,
match.
right. You know your limitations. You know your boundaries. You know your triggers. And so, you know, when Ebony was asking a while ago, how many times, you know, there are some people where we've had conversations, and you know, I've been a repeat offender. We've all been repeat offenders at some point in our life, and we still have stood the test of time and remained friends. But it's about your bottom line.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Like, I'm not
And-
trying to hurt you. If I
Right,
do something to offend you,
right.
it's a different story if you're trying to hurt me.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that kind of goes back to, like when you say it's a bottom line repeat, how many, to me, it kind of feels like, what is your value to me too?
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing, it goes back to value. I value you as my friend.
Right.
So I'm going to try and give you this opportunity to respect me.
Right.
Because it goes back to respecting me too.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Respect
Right.
for yourself.
That's
So if you value me just as much as I value you, then you're going to respect what I'm asking you to do.
And you'll work at it.
Yeah,
You'll
and
work at it.
consciously. Nothing changes overnight because
Right.
I'm asking you to adjust to what I like.
Right.
And if you value me like I value you, then I'm going to try to do that.
Right.
And I'm going to acknowledge when I've overstepped it.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I was wrong. I did do that again. But again, it'll go back to a point to where you reach it because it is going to cause a wedge in the relationship if the person can never correct it.
All right, sorry guys, we had a little technical difficulties, but we're back. But Bridget, I appreciate you talking about value because we have to understand when we value each other, we respect each other, you know, and we can also live more harmonious and coexist. But I'm glad we had this conversation. It was so good. It just really shows how we respect our growth, how we respect our change, our mindsets. I know we didn't talk about that, but that matters. The way that we think towards each other. And, you know, like I said, we're all in different phases of life. We don't grow at the same rate, but we can all tell that we have leveled up in every aspect of our life. So I respect y'all ladies.
All right, girl.
I love y'all ladies.
Love you too.
I appreciate y'all
I don't know what
ladies.
that means, but okay.
Sorry, these are the school teachers.
Yeah.
But I appreciate y'all, and I'm glad that we can even sit here and have this conversation. And I pray, you know, it's some ladies out there that y'all probably are in friendships or situationships, relationships, whether it's business, co-workers, church, whatever.
Entanglements. Get out them entanglements.
Whatever. Oh my God.
Oh, it's easy.
What I'm saying is, at some point, we have all looked at each other and felt like, who raised you? And but we grew through the judgment because if we're honest, we've all judged each other. We grew through the judgment. We grew through the growing pains, and we made it out. We're here. We're respectful. We're women. You know, y'all are mothers, and so I just respect y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
What?
I'm not a mother.
I want to talk to you.
I know I just.
Don't put it
No.
on. Take your time.
That's it. Take your time.
So for all our sisters out there, you know, who are judging, or if you're looking at somebody like who raised you, We're gonna leave you with this. Seek to understand. Seek to understand. Seek to understand. Respect your people. Respect their growth. Respect their boundaries. Even if it changes, try to be flexible and understand and change with them, okay? God bless y'all. Y'all know what it is. Next Friday, same time. Girls talk. I'll be with my girls. We're talking about the real, the raw, and what, the obvious?
Yeah.
It might not be out.
Okay, they ain't no good key line, y'all. I'm
The
gonna work on it. The
It's
real,
okay.
the raw. I ain't gonna say
I was gonna say ratchet. See,
But we almost there.
we're not
Maybe
ratchet.
me and Bridget should come over.
We're gonna talk about real topics while keeping it classy. Thank you for joining us, ladies. Until next week, have a good weekend. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, that was it.
She missed it again.
For me and TC,
High five.
And if you got your act together, we can make it happen in any kind of weather. Cause I gotta make something out of nothing. I turn it into everything, allow me to make a plain. Listen to what I say, the man in me. I've been down before, but now I'm UP. I've got the same body, upgrade, mind, body, brains, and put that on everything. I'm moving forward, don't wanna look back. I got my life and I got it on track. Gotta keep it pushing, so let's bring it back. Get your mask